makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies.
Well, you know, we sure do need them. We need those strategies, don't we? Talking about strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Ready or not, here we are.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living Radio. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is psychotherapist, LPC Lauren Leon McMillan, and I'm just gonna begin the program this way.
Yeah.
I'm quoting Charlie Brown.
Okay.
Good grief.
Could we all use a little more of that?
Well, you know what? I do think Charlie Brown is on to something. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we don't talk enough. We don't consider grief enough, because if you're living, and I'm making the assumption here that every single person listening right now is living.
In a body, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll continue to live in a soul and a spirit, but that's another program. But if you're in the body, if you're in this world,
in the physical
world, meaning
where things appear separate,
right? That's an ego. That's what our ego does. It makes everything appear to be separate from us. So if all of that is the case, then grief is an absolute constant in life.
Yes.
Grief is one of those things. It is inevitable. None of us will escape grief. And yet, the interesting thing is, we don't talk enough about it as a society. We don't even talk about it enough, I think, in graduate level training of psychologists and therapists and people who are going to work in the field.
No, I agree. We definitely do not.
And that's not something going on against graduate programs and stuff. It's just, it's a reflection of
societal.
Yeah.
We don't understand, we don't have ways to understand or manage or to honor grief.
Well,
and that's what I think we need to do, is honor it.
We're going to talk about some types of grief we don't talk about enough today here on Strategies. Folks, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you, and we appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing, Restore Healing, Fertitas Delicatessen, home of the Muffy, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. The types of grief we don't talk enough about. That's today here on Strategies. Strategies for Living. Come back with us.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you want to holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Welcome in. Welcome into Strategies for Living Radio. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Talking today here on Strategies. I don't know that we can talk enough about grief.
No.
And that may sound, I don't know, sad, maudlin, whatever you want to label it. However,
I think that's a misnomer. I think we don't, because we stop, we grief is usually initiated with this deep feeling of loss, which we associate with sadness, right? And negative. But what we miss by not moving into the sadness and the loss aspect is we miss the transformative power that is available as we move through grief, if we allow it. I mean, the acronym that you and I came up with together is growth rooted in eternal forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Grief.
Yeah.
And that's if we allow the full process to truly transform us. I mean, something that I've witnessed, and this is talking about what we might consider the ultimate grief in human form. What I've witnessed around when a person transitions, when a person's body dies,
Right.
there is this incredible, I almost call it a portal. It's like a death portal that opens for the people who were connected to this person to grow and change in ways and in a frequency and a depth that wasn't possible while this person was alive. And something happens in that period of, right before, during, and after a person's transition.
Right.
There's this window where we get a glimpse, we get to touch that in between. And this happens, I think, too, in birth. When a child is born into the world, I think there's a similar portal where we can kind of touch the eternal, some space in between.
You're touching on something for me. This is very personal, but it's interesting. Both of my parents passed away in 2007.
Right.
And only
a few days apart.
18 days apart. My mother's was not expected at all 18 days after my father passed. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget when everything settled down. Of course, there's at someone's passing, especially.
You got to check all the boxes and do all of the
and
rites
so
and rituals.
You got to do all of that. And when all of that was finished and I'm in their house, the sense of quiet, the sense of quietness was palpable.
Yeah.
And this may sound weird, but I'm going to go back 46 years to the birth of my first child, Kylene.
Yeah.
And not that Desiree's birth and Jonathan's birth, I was present for all of them, but
you had never experienced
but
it
I'd
before.
never
it was brand
experienced
new for you
right
with Kylene. Yeah.
And I'll never ever forget that quietness. Kylene came into the world and just looked around. She didn't come in. I was expecting the baby will cry and the doctor will hold her up.
Yeah, all this chaos and noise.
She was born and she started looking around with those big, beautiful eyes. And it felt so quiet and calm.
Yeah.
And I realized, thinking about birth and death, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The portal. Those two things birth and death are very related to each other.
They're sacred. They are, and we don't recognize that in today's society. I mean, I think we've sterilized them and medicalized them, and created this distance between what we can touch that's there. It's if we're brave, if we have the courage to lean into what those portals have to offer.
And they have much to offer.
There's incredible depth that's available there. I mean, and for me, I'm thinking of my grandfather's passing. I mean, for me, it was an honor to walk alongside him those last few months.
Absolutely.
And
we spent a lot of time.
Yeah. And for me, I recognized what was happening, and there was a sadness, a grief. There was all of that mixed in with, I was able to grab on to something with him. And we both did. Yeah. I think he and I both were able to touch this portal and to honor this in-between place. And for me, it helps me to grow in my own spiritual understanding.
In your grandfather's case, and this may sound weird, but I think he was happy to be going.
Oh, I know he was.
And I mean, he was relieved
He
because
was ready.
you and I had helped him line up a medical procedure that probably would have continued his life. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that his transition, we were going to take him to the doctor for this to check, get ready for this procedure.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't going to let it happen.
the 2:00 in the morning before we were to bring him is when he decided, I'm out of here.
No, he didn't want.
Yeah.
He really didn't. Didn't want to. I think he had gotten to a point where he felt trapped in the body almost.
And so, I'm not sure that in our world, and you call it over medicalized, I suppose that's as good a term as any. We're out of balance, though. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for medical professionals to get us back into balance. It's not for the priests and preachers and imams to get us back into balance.
It's our own.
It's not for the psychologists to get us back into balance. If we're going to come into balance with this, it is going to be an individual choice and decision. Mm-hmm. It will be something that we decide, okay, there's an opportunity here, and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And there's a real reason to do that. You know what the real reason to do that is?
What's that?
None of us going to get out of here alive.
No.
And I mean, think about the way our ego, has us look at death. Really think about this.
Okay. Yeah.
Our ego invites us to look at death as, well, that happens to other people. Mm-hmm.
It won't happen to me.
Won't happen to me. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, it will, because it's going to happen to all of us.
Yeah. It is an honor, I think, for us all to have that experience. And I think I think this is sort of leads into what we're going to talk about today. The death of the body is not the only, and the death of bodies around us is not the only death that we all face.
Oh, we face many deaths. We face many deaths in life.
Over and over
and over. Almost daily, we have deaths that are occurring in our lives. Yeah. And so, what truly then is grief? Mm-hmm. Grief is an instrument. It's a process where we transition. I think you used that word earlier, where we transition from one state into, we're adapting a different state. We're adjusting to a different state now.
Yeah. Well, and what's beautiful is, as I think about it, is that we come into this form where we see ourselves, experience ourselves as separate. And I think the ultimate goal of grief, this is very kind of paradoxical when you think about it, is if we believe what is to be true, which is that when we die, when the body dies, our soul returns to oneness.
Right.
What we're really grieving is the ego's idea of being separate.
Of separateness.
And so that is exactly what true forgiveness is. And therefore why, I think we came up with the idea that grief is growth rooted in eternal. It goes on and on and on.
Yep.
Forgiveness. Because the ultimate goal of grief is to recognize, oh my goodness, I thought I was this separate, or this part of me was separate, and I'm bringing it into wholeness, and I have to grieve what I thought it was.
Yeah. I know that's I know we've said a lot here in this first segment. In fact, some people will probably say, what? But, again, this is important stuff. This is stuff that you're not going to hear talked about on a lot of other places. I'm not saying we're the only ones in the universe. I know we're not, certainly. But this is not something that we talk about every day, that we engage every day, even in places, and I know I'm going to offend some people here, even in places where we ought to be talking about this, our churches, our places of spiritual worship and growth are places that we need to be talking more. But even there, the ego abounds. I was interviewing an Episcopal bishop several years ago. Yeah. He's passed away. He's transitioned now, but I liked him a lot. He wrote a lot. The Spong was his name, John Shelby Spong. Sure. And Bishop Spong told a story that was related to what we're talking about right here, of the denial of death. He said he had an elderly priest whose wife had passed on before him. He didn't really have any family, so the bishop had to handle all of his final arrangements. He said he went to his desk and he opened the desk drawer and he said there was an envelope there that said, if I should die. Yeah. And Bishop Spong said, now here was a man who probably did, hundreds and hundreds, if not more, of funerals. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't labeled when I die. It was labeled if I should die. And it struck the bishop, and, he shared it, and it, maybe all of us can be struck by it. We're talking about good grief today, and 7 types of grief that we don't talk about enough, but we're talking about them today. We're coming back and jumping in here on Strategies for Living.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies for living. Radio.
And welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan here on Strategies for Living Radio. We are honored that you have joined us today. And we're talking about some grief that we don't talk about enough today. I mean, that's the thing with Strategies. We try to we try to bring subjects every day to make us think, to stretch our minds, to help us grow in our bodies, minds, spirits, and relationships. And, of course, you're listening to us here on the radio, and we thank you for that. But many times people will say, gosh, I only heard 20 minutes here or 10 minutes there, and I wish I had the whole program. Well, you can.
That's right. We're on podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so many people today listen to podcasts, and so we're on all the major distribution points, Spotify and Apple Podcast and iHeart and all those places. And you just go to your favorite platform for downloading podcast and put in the search Strategies for Living, and we should come up.
And follow or subscribe.
Yeah. Give us a follow, and you'll have access to this. Probably 300 or more episodes up there.
Around, yeah.
And we put one up every time we do one. So if you hear a part of the program on the radio and you say, I missed that or I missed this, I wish I had that, well, you can go back and get whatever you like.
You don't have to grieve that.
Don't have to grieve that. So we're talking about grief that we don't talk about enough. And so let me overview the kinds of grief, because there's 7 of them we're going to talk about. Okay. Ambiguous grief, delayed grief, identity grief, anticipatory grief, dismissed grief, relief grief, and future grief. And we're going to talk about all of these today, one by one. But again, we've talked about why grief is so important to address. And I guess this first one, ambiguous grief.
I think this one's incredibly important.
Yeah.
I think this is an asterisk one. And it's about missing someone who's still there. I can remember there was a time, I think it was early high school, late middle school, I recognized in myself that I had been idolizing someone close to me. Yeah. I had put them on a pedestal for a long time, and I was seeing the real person. Okay. And I remember this vividly because I think I even wrote it in a journal somewhere, that I wrote something along the lines of one of the hardest things to lose is an imaginary friend. And it was this.
Yeah.
It was this ambiguous grief, this form of I'm losing someone in the form of I thought they were one way, and I'm
They
realizing
turned out to be something else.
They're not what I wanted.
Yep.
Them to be.
Yep.
And I think this happens on multiple levels, not just on that level of
Well,
idolization.
yeah, we could be missing somebody that's still living, but we haven't touched base with. It could be a friend who became a stranger. It can be a parent who gets lost to some form of addiction, let's say. It could be a partner that you grew apart from. They're here, but they're gone.
Yeah.
That's ambiguous grief.
I think this happens, and we do recognize it on some level in this situation. But this happens when we have someone close to us who is going through some sort of cognitive decline.
Yeah.
Right? When someone is going through dementia or another form of...
You're giving them up piece by piece as they're giving up life and memory piece by piece.
Another instance that I want to put in here very lightly, but I think it's very important that we talk about too, and this is aimed towards parents, and I think it's important that children who are going through this process understand this piece as well. When somebody comes out as gay, or somebody comes out as trans, or has a gender identity change in some big personality revelation.
Right.
Often the parent or those around them have to go through a process of ambiguous grief.
Yeah, and that's normal.
And that's not to say that they don't accept the person who they are.
Right.
But
there needs to be a grieving, a giving up.
Yes, and that needs to be honored from both sides, right? So if you're a parent who is going through the process of, recognizing that your child has some part in this way that's disclosed to you, it's okay to have both. It's okay to be in a point of, I accept you and love you for who you are, and that's not who I expected you to be or who I thought you were, and so I'm going to honor my own grief.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we might touch on this later on the other end in terms of identity grief, but I think that's important for us to recognize and honor.
Another grief we don't talk about enough is delayed grief. So,
Yes.
I go along, there's been a loss, and I've acknowledged the loss, and I've just been, quote unquote, fine with things for months. And then it could be anything. You could hear a song on the radio. Or a song is playing, and it strikes a chord. And, that's the thing with grief. It doesn't follow timelines.
No, it's not. And it varies person to person. I was actually talking to someone recently who recently lost a person very close to her. And this was a friend of the person who lost someone very close.
Right.
And the friend said, I'm not worried about her right now. But after some time has passed and everything calms down, that's when I'm going to check on her, because I know from her process before that delayed grief is, kind of the way she processes.
Right.
And so I think it's important that we recognize that in ourselves, kind of like you mentioned with your parents, right? We get caught up in the busyness of all that you have to do, arranging the funeral,
there's a lot.
Handling
Anytime
the finances.
somebody transitions and passes, there's so much that has to be done.
But then again, talking about non-death griefs, right? I mean, I'm thinking about even if you move. If you have a move, right? You get caught up in all of the
and it may
activity.
be just moving across town.
Yeah.
You're one house to another. Yeah.
Right. But then suddenly some memory appears. Something jars you to remind you of that which you had, that which you quote unquote lost. You know, it's no longer there in the present. And there's a sadness there. Honor that.
Yeah.
That's part of grief, and it's asking to be seen.
Absolutely.
It's asking you to be moved through.
There's identity grief.
Yes.
So this is mourning the person that you used to be. So this is about the self.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is a big one.
And this is different from either one of the other ones that we've talked about, ambiguous grief or delayed grief, because it's about you. So maybe there's been a trauma in your life. Maybe there's been a diagnosis in your life. Maybe something. It doesn't matter what it is, but something happened and it changed everything. And so you're not who you used to be. You're not who you were. And this may sound weird to people, but that deserves to be grieved too. It's, in fact, it is important.
It is
that we
of
grieve
the highest
that.
Importance.
If we don't grieve,
we can't grow.
We're not. We're causing ourselves to, we're interrupting our own growth.
Yeah, exactly. And we asked. This is my double, triple asterisk. This is. If you take anything away from this show, this is one of the most important grieving experiences that we can all try to wrap our hands around.
Right.
Is this idea of identity grief.
Yeah.
We have in our heads that our personalities, who we are, is this constant, there's a constant thread. And
Right.
to some degree, on the soul level, there is a continuum. But as we know, everything all the time is always changing, moving, and growing. And I think, just like I said about when there's a physical death and a physical birth, there is this portal.
Yeah.
I think we all go through individually throughout our lives. We go through, hopefully, several death portals within ourselves.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is there comes a time in your life, it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be a big trauma or an accident or a divorce or the changing of a career, but it can be. That can be one of them for you. It could be more subtle than that. And so to recognize when you're moving through a death portal for yourself, right? And it's accompanied by this kind of need to withdraw, this need to go into yourself and to recognize and to honor that something in you is changing and shifting. And if you do, my goodness, it's like the idea of the butterfly, right? Moving from caterpillar to butterfly.
Right.
You have this opportunity to radically change and grow and become something beautiful. But just like the butterfly, lots, if not everything, has to dissolve. And so we have to be okay with and honor that process. I'm going to emphasize process of dissolution and kind of this place of uncertainty. I'm not sure what cells are going to become what.
Right.
Right? But to trust that whatever this process is, this death portal that I'm in, something greater, the greater version of me is waiting on the other side if I honor it and I move through it.
Yeah.
Right? And so growth is going to occur, but you have to be willing to move into the messiness.
And that's the whole idea of us talking about this today, is so that we do look at this not as something that happens occasionally throughout our lives.
No, constantly.
But actually, it's something that is a constant throughout our lives. And, if we really want ultimate healthiness, then instead of running from,
we move into it.
Mm-hmm. And, that may sound weird because who wants grief, right? Well, if we're wise, all of us.
When you move into it, it actually goes by faster.
Types of grief that we don't talk enough about. We're talking about that today here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies, strategies, strategies for living radio.
Welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living Radio. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, talking about grief today. It's actually good grief. It's types of grief that we don't talk enough about. And, grief is really an important process, an important instrument of growth for all of us. And so that's why it's important for us to embrace it. Here's one. This next one I want to talk about, Lauren, is one that I think happens a lot today, and that's anticipatory grief.
Yes.
And so especially with the prevalence of things like diagnoses like Alzheimer's and things.
Well, and then when if you get a diagnosis of any kind of terminal illness.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think this also happens, though. We can see this in people who have pets, right? We can kind of sense, we know to some degree when they're on the way out, too.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So you're losing somebody before they're gone. And so you watch them decline and you know what's coming. But, it's that in-between space. You're living in that space between now and the inevitable goodbye. I did experience this with my parents. As I said, both of them were diagnosed with some forms of dementia. And so, it was a long goodbye. And, my mother was probably more involved than my father, but at 91 years old, he just said, "Hey, I'm out of here." Yeah. And he was gone 5 days later. Yeah. And, you've got to honor that. You got to honor that. And some people in my family were a bit worried about me after both passed away and passed away so quickly because, they said, "Boy, you're keeping it together." Well, yeah, I think I was.
Because you had already grieved.
Because I'd grieved all along the way. Yeah. There's another thing that we need to talk about, and that's dismissed grief. Where we say, well, it's not that, this is not that serious. Right. But it still happened to us. And you mentioned pets. Pets fall into this. I think so. Jobs fall into this. Houses fall into this. Friendships fall into this. Yeah.
I think miscarriage.
Falls into this.
Infertility, retirement.
Yeah. There's a lot of dismissed grief. So we put it aside. But here's the deal. Your pain is important. It doesn't need anybody else's approval.
No, and you don't need a permission slip to grieve something that mattered to you.
Absolutely.
That really that held a place of honor in your life and is leaving a hole. It is your job as a holy person to honor that hole.
Yes, it is. Yes, most definitely. Yeah. So, the relief grief is something we need to talk about because some people, and relief grief is exactly what it says. It's a feeling of relief when somebody's gone or something has transitioned. And then we feel guilty about that relief, right?
Yeah. Yep. This is almost the opposite of the dismissed grief, right? It's the societal pressure around, well, you should be grieving, right?
Yeah.
Or just some internal idea that you should be grieving. I watched my grandmother go through a little bit of this. Yeah. Because she had been a caretaker for several years for my grandfather. Right. And so when he passed, I could tell there was a large part of her that was very relieved, right, to not have to worry about what he was doing.
Are we going to have to call EMS
right.
today?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And she did. She put that on herself. That I really shouldn't be feeling good in the midst of this loss.
But relief is relief. And so, it's both things. You said
Both
this
things can
earlier.
be
Both
true.
things can be true.
Yeah.
But it's not an either or when it comes to grief. And it's important that you allow yourself to it's okay to grieve a hard relationship.
And it's okay to be relieved.
And it's okay to feel whatever you feel from it. I mean, how many times do we say feelings aren't right, feelings aren't wrong,
Right.
they're just feelings?
Yeah. I think this happens a lot also like in abusive or toxic relationships.
Oh, no doubt.
Where, you finally make the healthy decision to split
Yep.
or to go your separate ways.
Yep.
And,
Or to put up a boundary,
Right.
with this person or that person, even in your family.
Yep. The complicated familial relationships. Yeah.
Right.
Or even chronic years of stress, and you decide to do something to alleviate that. I think grief and relief actually go hand in hand for all of those cases, and it's okay to experience both.
Yes. Yes.
And in equal or unequal measures.
Then there's future grief. So, and this, again, this is one that we don't think about and one we probably don't do enough. And this is just grieving and mourning dreams that have died.
Yep.
So,
Or a life you had imagined. Right?
yeah.
I'm thinking like if you were in a marriage that you thought you would grow
You thought
old
this
in.
was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it turned out not to be.
Or-
But this could be a career that won't happen for you. It can be the family you won't have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like if you imagine having children at some point, and for whatever reason that can't be possible, won't be possible, that's
Or didn't happen.
Or didn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're past the ability to have children and you're looking back, you could have some grief of, I didn't make that decision, right?
Right.
Any sort of future that you had imagined or conjured up for yourself. We need to grieve to allow space for something even better to root in.
Yeah, and I think that you're allowed. All of us are allowed to grieve what never was. And it's important because all of us have dreams.
Yeah. Sure.
And this could be something like, I always thought I would go to college.
Yeah.
If I don't, or I always thought I'd be following my father's footsteps in his career, but I don't end up. That doesn't end up.
Yeah.
Again, it's these are types of grief that we don't think about. Future grief, relief grief, dismissed grief, anticipatory grief, identity grief, delayed grief, and ambiguous grief.
Do we have time? I want to add one more.
30 seconds.
Okay. Well, one more I want to briefly talk about that I think is important is collective grief.
Okay.
So right now we are in a period of great collective grief.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the world around us is greatly changing, shifting, and there's a lot of grieving going
Hourly,
on
minutely.
in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's important to allow ourselves, if we tap into that, to move through that collective grief, and how can I process that on an individual level and let that transform me.
Talking today about types of grief that we don't talk about enough, and we're doing that today here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back. And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, talking about types of grief that we don't talk enough about. Grief, growth rooted in eternal forgiveness.
That's it.
Can we ever forgive enough?
No. I don't think so. Not until
Over and over. There was a wise
that's why it's eternal.
gentleman who walked the earth a couple of thousand years ago, and he was asked, how many times do we forgive? 7 times, 70 times? No. 70 times 7 times. And the number 7 means infinite.
Right.
And so if you really look at it that way,
it's ongoing.
Yeah, you grieve infinity times 7.
Yeah.
I don't know what that number is, but it's a lot.
Well, and grief, we've been saying that grief can be good. I think grief can and needs to be holy.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that is grief is often a loss, and it often appears in our life as a whole, HOLE. But our mission, our job, our task, if we are to accept it, is to see how can I let this hole in my life bring me closer to wholeness.
Oh, I like that. WHOLE.
That's it. And how can I make me more whole?
Whole to whole. Wholeness.
That's it.
I think you just found the name of a new book.
Well.
Thank you, Lauren. Folks, thank you. Appreciate you being on Strategies for Living, joining us on Strategies for Living. And we appreciate our sponsors who make it possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing, Restore Healing, Fertitas Delicatessen, go over there and get a Muffy, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira, Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who is it that you'd call? And what is it that you'd say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. And we'll see you next time right here on Strategies for Living.